Yeah, I come from men that stand. I'm in the field and you just sit in the stands. Take that bass out your voice. If you ain't got no gun in your hand, I do what I want. And you don't even do what you can, you do what you told. I got no love for my foes that can mimic my delivery and copy my prose. But what they can't comprehend is how I stick to this code. It's either in you or not. It's not the kicks and the clothes. They ain't cut from the same cloth, can't come from the same loom. Fit in similar shapes or even sit in the same room. Confusing authenticity with part of the costume. I'm teaching gifted children, you can't come in this classroom.
Dare to struggle, dare to win.
Welcome back to Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. Geechee, y'all, Cherie, Danielle, and Dr. Yusef, Bunchy, Shakur. How y'all doing? What's up?
Man, I'm fed for a nerd. How about you? The rest of you guys?
Cherie, how you doing?
I'm good. I just been busy all day, working hard for my money, I guess, you know.
She worked hard for the money.
It came to my mind exactly.
That's what my day been pretty much.
Word. I've been just getting my meetings in and trying to get stuff done last minute for this event next week. But yeah, I've been having some generative conversations. I've been like trying to figure out some shit around here, and then been hearing from people who feel a type of way but haven't said a type of way publicly. And then now I'm in some of these spaces, and I'm happy that I ain't going fucking crazy. So,
yeah, I was actually, before I jumped on or we get started, I was messing around thinking about to start a blog called OG Boyle, and the Boyle's acronym for Black Organic Intellectual Liberation.
So, nice.
Yeah,
that's gonna be dope. We're gonna be sharing the shit. But before we get into some shit, welcome to Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win, where we're gonna bring y'all some Black radical politics according to CMB's vantage point. We all are currently with CMB in different cities, and we love to bring you this work here on Black Liberation Media, where you can have a bunch of other shows to get your politics right. But we know the people in the chat, y'all politics are already right. So all you need to do is copy and paste this link and share it with some folks. And I think you should share it widely, because we're going to talk about No King's March. And I know if you didn't go to No King's March, you know somebody who went. So yeah, I've had inboxes, people talking about they want to organize something like No Kings, but more substance. And I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, but before we get in there, I know there's a light build that might has a connection to No Kings that Cherie wanted to bring up. So yeah, let's talk to that first.
Yeah, this is one of the topics I wanted to get to last week, but I think it definitely connects to the No Kings March, because I just think that this is kind of bringing up a lot of the initial conversations that were had after last year's presidential election. And I'm seeing stuff online, even, you know, just more family members talking again about like, why did we get here? Why is Trump the president? And, you know, where's to blame? And kind of like, you know, almost feeling like, you know, all of the fascism stuff happened like overnight. You know, and I even had some interesting discussion with my aunt, like I feel like last week about that. But the main topic that I guess I wanted to get to is like currently on TikTok, a lot of people are blaming certain online leftists for Kamala's loss. And I feel like in the past few weeks, there's been like a specific focus on Conscious Lee, who, you know, we've talked, you know, kind of about on this channel, you know, about like his wishy-washy politics and whatnot. But it's just been interesting that like now him as an influencer, the very audience that I feel like he was aiming to keep, you know, with being involved, you know, with the Democratic Party and going to the Democratic convention and stuff, they've all kind of turned on him, because even though he was still in the end saying, I still think y'all should vote for Kamala, and kept consistently said the whole time, still vote for Kamala, but just off the simple fact that he was questioning her and constantly bringing up Palestine and the genocide, he's now being told he hates Black women, and, you know, is being critiqued for, you know, I think his wife is mixed, so people are really kind of just going in on him for that, and like being like, you hate Black women and it's your fault that we're living in this condition. And and I think it's just very kind of ties into like the way a lot of people that participated in the No Kings protest are looking at things. So I just thought it was interesting. I don't know. I feel like I'm not looking at it right now, but I thought I may have the link from last week still. Geechee, I don't know if I got to it unless everything.
I probably removed the stuff for this week.
Oh, okay.
But
Um,
this is Conscious Lee, and we about to join his university.
but yeah, I do. I'm trying to think. Dang it. Let me see. I may have the
enroll now in a single course.
I may have the whatchamacallit, the actual link on me. Sorry, guys. But
we gonna sign up for a class. I mean, word. Right.
You funny.
$305.
Okay, here we go. CMB podcast.
That's 1 credit hour, 2 credit. What would that be like, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, man. Understanding intersectionality, implicit bias course. Wait, is that for black people? That sounds like that's for white people. Exploring diversity and oppression in modern. Oh, okay. Maybe that's some white people that he's selling it to.
Yeah, I guess it is gone. But yeah, I guess I don't have the link to share, but yeah, I guess, I mean, do you think that like that's interesting? I mean, I wanted to share kind of like his reply and stuff, but I mean, I guess we can just talk about it a little like.
Is there I think you could probably search the reply. But I mean, I think two things. It's probably like fanning the more fame of Consciously, and it's just making him even more relevant and possibly increasing his stock. And it's kind of like, again, we always talk about Amos Wilson's argument around power is having the control or controlling the domains of discourse. And so like bunch of people are going to run out to kind of support and protect Conscious Lee for this latest particular thing. And I think even the No Kings rally probably even is indicative of that, because it's essentially a democratic operation. So yeah, I think it's relative, but I mean, there's probably so many people that can be plug and play in the Conscious League that they will say, oh, it's their fault. But I just think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to add other than like, this is only going to cement Conscious Lee as possibly a radical voice who's being targeted. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I get that too. I think but I think still, I mean, I don't know, because like I said, he still is very much standing on like, I still said vote for her at the end of the day. But I think like I said, the other side of this conversation that I think is so interesting is like, me as somebody that didn't vote for her, but had a lot of the same talking points that he did, just didn't end in go vote for her still. It just kind of shows me that like people would have hated me anyway. Like even if I did vote for her at the end of the day, like just all of my talking points, me being pro-Palestine, all like people would have still blamed me, even if I still was like, like, and I dealt with a lot of, family members and people being very upset, and, people still kind of having, a conversation with me. Like even my aunt, she called me in some ways to kind of be like, I get what you're saying. Like, and I was initially just really upset at people that did not vote for Kamala and stuff. But then like, and still in the conversation, she still kept being like, well, how can we just get everybody to vote Democrat until things are gonna change, or until we're ready or have another plan or something like that. But I don't know. I think it still is kind of like she kept trying to kind of say similar things of like, well, don't you think, it's easy for you to make a particular choice, Cherie, because it doesn't directly affect you as far as people that are more in need and that have particular services. We get into the certain benefits being taken away from people. It was kind of like the, kind of that same thing where like, well, you're a middle class woman and you're not going to suffer as much. So you made the decision out of a particular privilege that you had. And then I'm always like, well, I know people that aren't middle class that still didn't vote for Kamala, and that actually, understood or have this bigger disabilities than me, and understood that like, hey, they may lose out on particular things, but at the same time, the actual issue is why are these particular benefits and things that help people up for the yay or nay every 4 years? Like if like I said, if it's supposed to be getting better, if voting for the Democratic Party is the same, but so I don't know. I just thought it just kind of left me like, well, dang, even if I did vote for the lady, it just off the strength that I had questions and went to certain protests, it still would be like, it's your fault, Cherie, so I thought that was interesting.
So I have a question. I was driving my car about 2 weeks ago, and there's a local radio station, and on Sunday, and it was interviewing someone who was talking about Kamala Harris's new book, and where she was pretty much spilling the tea on the Democratic Party, that the things that she didn't talk about during her campaign, while pretty much how they like self-sabotage. So my question is this related to this individual possibly, or this is something totally separate from what's being talked about in her new book?
I think, yeah, all of the new book started a lot of people still being upset that people didn't vote for Kamala. There's a lot of outrage that people were still showing up to Kamala Harris's book readings and doing like protests. There was a lot of book readings that she had, or book conversations, I'm sorry, that she had, and protesters still had to be escorted because people would still be like, your legacy is genocide and all these things. And a lot of liberals were still upset, like, she's not the president. And even she kind of said in some of these things, some of these book talks or whatever, like, I'm not the president, go protest against him. So you had a lot of liberals being like, that's just anti-black or anti-black woman because she's not even in office anymore. People are still protesting against her. And then I think that kind of threw it back into conversations of like, how did we get here in the first place? I'm blame these online left people because whether they were saying vote for her or don't vote for her, in the end, all of them contribute to the anti-blackness that got her not elected, and just kind of like, I think that's, so it all does tie into the book stuff as well.
Okay.
I'm actually just learning that Consciously is a diversity and inclusion professional. I mean, I really didn't, to be honest with you. He said I am not your typical corporate diversity, inclusion, equity, and inclusion instructor. With over 1 million followers and over 40 million likes. Oh, well, maybe likes and follows the same. But anyway, 40 million likes. The Consciously, this intellectual debating hip hop dancing. Oh, I didn't know he do hip hop. That's what he came from?
I don't know. I don't know that much about him,
Thought-provoking and workshop facilitating keynote prove that Black intellectuals don't have to play respectability. Wait, I thought he okay. Consciously, but yeah, I just understanding racism, understanding sexism, understanding classism, understanding trans homogeneity, homogeneity, homo negativity. Is that a word?
Homo negativity. I've never actually heard that, but yeah, interesting.
Oh, okay. And then understanding ableism. Final thoughts: understanding capitalism and imperialism and what revolutionary movements do.
Mm-hmm.
No, let me stop. Okay, it's good. Good for Consciously to stay relevant. I mean, I think he's doing better than his sister girl, Olay. I don't know how relevant she still is, but I don't really see nothing about Consciously until maybe we talk about it here or whatever. So I'm curious how the online left is doing and if they are still getting their work done.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, obviously, they're still getting all these hits online, but I do think a lot of influencers that were definitely still saying vote for Kamala in the end, because they were still faces that people remember during that time that were saying we should question her on genocide, we should question her on these certain things that, like I said, now they're just all being warped into one, along with people who were like, I'm not gonna vote for her, or like, you shouldn't feel obligated to vote for her just because she's blue. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think Olay, I feel like it just depends on the subject. I mean, you could tell she kind of stays away from politics a little. She more so talks about just hot topics at the time that may deal with racism, colorism, sexism, or anti-trans topics and stuff like that. But even I think Consciously might have been on the last thing that they did. I can't remember what the subject was. I mean, I watch certain episodes from time to time just to hear different things about the conversations because I just be liking mess. Like there was one thing with whatchamacallit, Laverne Cox was dating or sleeping with she was dating a Republican white cop, and she's supposed to be this big, pro-black trans figure. And so that was an interesting conversation that I wanted. That was probably the last one that I watched. But yeah, I just think overall it's just really interesting because even my mom brought up the No King stuff. So yeah, we can kind of transition into that as well.
Perfect. You see, you know my style. We'll be right back, and we will start with the No Kings conversation.
You're on a tight shit.
Yusef gonna introduce us to that. We'll be right back.
I'm throwing copper at the coppers, but I'm shaking like Morocco. Say my prayers with the pistol, serve the sinners with the chopper. All my buddies got it from scratch. My house had Betty Crocker. His mama owned D. He ain't even get no shot up. Profit is invisible. Profit come from product. He thinking buffet. He can't comprehend no potluck. God bless the child with his own powder to rock.
So welcome back, good people. Today's topic is No Kings Rally. First, I have a question for you guys. Did you attend any No Kings Rally?
Nope, I went to homecoming with my
mom. This is not the. They did one about 2 months ago. So this is like the second iteration of it.
Yeah, I know it's been a few, but I think the way I look at protesting overall is not to say that I would never protest for anything again, but I think my intention of starting to protest was getting connected to orgs, and I think I fulfilled that like when I really started protesting when early 2024 I started going to pro Palestinian protests and got more familiar with PSL Atlanta, got more familiar with CMB. So I don't know, like I said, it's not to say I'll never do any protests, but I think a big point of protests, especially in this particular climate, should be with the intention to figure out how can I continue this work against a horrible system. And so I think I found that with joining CMB and becoming an active member. And obviously, like I said, it's not to say I'll never go to a protest again, but it'll just have to be very intentional for me, but I was at homecoming with my mom because she went to Spelman. So I went to homecoming for the first time.
Got you, dope. Geechee, I have a question. Can you enlighten our listeners? What's the difference between a protest and a rally?
Would that protest and a rally, or
no? Just in general. Just in general.
I think a protest is something that should have demands, and should be interrupting of something. Unfortunately, we've been coddled down a path of peaceful protest, which means you would get particular signage and approval from the state to do such a thing, and they like, hey, you can go walk in the street and do some weird shit. But in rallies, it's just coming together and bringing attention to something or celebrating something. They both can look alike or be alike if there's no clear demands. So if there's a protest, the protest should have clear ass demands and goals, right? It should be clear. It should, I'll start there. I'm talking to you, but that's what I was saying. Then let me answer your first question. I actually, on Friday, we had a tenant meeting, and one of the elders actually brought it up because I often use Martin Luther King's strategy or tactic, whichever one you want to call it, of nonviolent protests. And when I said it, one of the elders was like, "Oh, is that No Kings thing they're doing?" I was like, and they thought that I'm about to call it a rally. The protest was against Martin Luther King, and we was like, "Oh no, that's not what it is." But that's actually it wasn't on my radar. For real. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It did. So let's go back to the second question. So with your definition, what would you classify the No Kings, as a rally or a protest?
I would call it a large scale rally, for multiple reasons. I don't think. I think honestly, protest has to be uh, a part of a larger strategy or struggle to build power. And although the No Kings has multiple days, we can't say that it's a single day thing, but it's still disconnected. And when you do some digging, you'll see that it's lodged into the Democratic Party and is really like a Democratic Party rally, if I would um, give it a definition.
Sure. You have anything to add to this?
I just want to say thank you for the compliment, MJ. I appreciate the love. But
You all over. Oh.
Amber alert. Amber gonna catch that compliment now.
But yeah, thank you. You know,
Give me
all
more.
that's going on in the world is great to be fine still. You know, it's great. But what was I getting ready to say? Yeah, I think one question that I guess I do have, even knowing that this was like highly tied to the Democratic Party and just overall when it comes to sorry, I was looking at Leah's comment and now I'm trying to figure out what she, okay. But sorry, let me go back to what I was saying. When it comes to it was tied to Democratic Party. It was done on a Saturday where all the things outside where obviously all the stuff that would be happening in a DC or with the state, none of those people are at work or whatever to actually be disturbed or anything as well. And it was very convenient for people that wanted to participate. There wasn't a lot of sacrifice. There was no demands, no ask. I do know that certain organizations like a PSL, maybe I think I might have seen some Green Party folks or different things still were trying to strategically come out just because it was a large group of people that obviously have identified an issue, just may not have the dialectics of where or how this came and what is and how to stop it. But they were kind of, still we're going to go out to see if we can try to put some of our politics in the air, get some radical thoughts out there. And I guess I just wonder, when it comes to stuff like that, and I think even some of there was this group of nurses that I think are healthcare workers that are affiliated with PSL. And I saw that was posted and they were, really talking about, obviously healthcare is a human right and all these other things. And I do think in those settings that it is good to still have those things out there. And obviously the hope would be that somebody would be like, okay, how can I take this a step further? But I don't know. Overall, I do think, it's just kind of similar to when you had the George Floyd, Black Lives Matter stuff. It's everybody marches and then goes to Starbucks or goes to party. Whoever came in, I must have them blocked. It's okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at Leah's but sorry, I'm all over
No distractions.
I get distracted. My bad. It's too much happening in the chat. But yeah, I do think it's kind of similar where it's everybody will go to Starbucks after the George Floyd protests and no real action happens. I do think people are looking to do more, but just so I don't know. I do wonder how you guys feel about that strategy as far as leftist organizations or further left organizations going out and trying to put the more radical politics out there.
So I'm gonna kind of tie this back to last week's conversation I think it was in our light bill when we were talking about or the topic of party, movement, organization, and we was interchanging those things. For all those things to exist, you have to have a mass base of people that needs to be recruited, developed politically, et cetera, et cetera. Geechee's definition was on point, but the difference between the rally and protest, and obviously there's more to it that we can get it down the road into it. But off the rip, the No Kings is not a protest. It's a rally. I think some people might call it that, which is a misnomer. I went to the first one. They did. Actually, I went to the one in the suburbs. I went with my co-workers and things. I'm pretty sure most of all these protests, all these rallies are led by white folks. The one I went to in the suburbs was all white people for the most part, and it was interesting. I just sat out, observed, and it was the observation of the signs and things. And if you know anything about Detroit, it was just a predominantly black city, and it's surrounded by suburbs, white suburbs and things, and which a lot of those folks are openly racist, undercover racist, and things of this nature. And then the one this past last weekend, I was asked to speak at, which I did, and again, saying after I spoke, I left. And that one they did a march. It was thousands of people, but ultimately, like, doesn't know the goal, and it was because of certain folks that I knew that was part of it, that I respected, participating in through the through the speech, whatever. I'll share with you guys. You want to read it, but I think there's room for critique and criticism. And there's room for critique and criticism on every level, but also I think we need to be mindful of, like, if there's oppression, there has to be some level of resistance. We can debate the question what that resistance is, what that activity is, and I'll conclude on this, and we can open up some more. It kind of reminded me of the energy reminds me of Occupy Wall Street, which was predominantly white issues, white concerns. And it's only till those when white people feel discomfort at that level that they come out of their households and get to the streets and they signs, but not necessarily having a political consciousness, political orientation leading to political demonstrations, something more politically to Geechee's point, demands, etc. So I think that's the missing link. And then a lot of the leftist organizations see it as an opportunity to recruit, distribute literature, to try to build off of that energy. And it's interesting to see our orgs. When I say our orgs, black orgs, black leftist orgs to some degree, missing in action, where you ain't necessarily be at the No Kings rally, but just in the larger conversation, what are we doing from our end to generate energy?
So I'm before I play this clip from one of the two white folks who actually organized these rallies, the organization that they're linked to, I want to lift up in the show descriptions are two articles by two of our comrades, Margaret Kimberly, and our good brother, Miss Anthony Rogers Wright. That's some sober analysis about the No Kings joint. But in Anthony's article, there's a quote there that I think is pretty pertinent to by Jonathan Matthews Smucker. It says, if participants are motivated by hope of psychic completion, by community and a strong sense of belonging, and such motivation is insufficiently grounded in instrumental political goals, their energies will likely go into deepening group identity over bolstering the group's external political achievements. I think that's a good statement on multiple accounts, but I'm going to play a little bit of this clip so that we can kind of respond to some of this rhetoric. And I'm going to try to speed it up because I know anybody wants to listen to it. Oh, shit. Did they try to move the sound or something? Okay, hold on. Let me get the speed right. Let me get that speed right. Play back. Oh, I already got it on 1.5.
Editor-in-Chief of The Contrarian. Thrilled to have back with us a friend of The Contrarian, Ezra Levin, who is the co-founder of Indivisible. Welcome, Ezra.
Hey, Jen. Great to be here.
It is so nice to see you, and you have news. What's the next big event?
The next event, big event, is coming up on June 14th. If folks are familiar with June 14th, that is Flag Day. It is a Saturday, great day for protest. It also happens to be Donald Trump's 79th birthday. And one thing that we've been hearing, originally it was just kind of vaguely being reported, not confirmed, but just last week it was confirmed. Donald Trump is planning to spend tens of millions of taxpayer dollars for a military parade in Washington, D.C. for his birthday. That is what he is planning to do. Look, I don't know about you. I don't know about the listeners. I don't know about the viewers here. That doesn't sound American to me. In America, we don't throw military parades for our dear leader. That's not what we do. So instead of protesting in D.C., I do not want counter-protesting in D.C. I don't want to give this authoritarian any excuse to crack down on peaceful protests. So instead of that, we're having No King's Day. No King's Day on June 14th. Everywhere but downtown Washington, D.C. I want it in rural communities. I want it in urban communities. I want it in red states and blue states and purple states. Everywhere but Washington, D.C. just to demonstrate how he doesn't have the power. The power does not exist within the White House. It's everywhere else. There were 1,100 protests for May Day last week. There were 1,300 protests on Hands Off April 5th. I think this is going to be even bigger. We have got an enormous coalition that's already behind this. We've got folks at Public Citizen, 5051, American Federation of Teachers, Reverend Barber's group, National Action Network, Al Sharpton's group. There is a large coalition that is building and growing, but it's not being led by some national organization. This is being led by folks on the ground. If you go to nokings.org right now, you'll see about 100 events because we pre-registered some, but this is going to grow every single day by normal everyday people who say, oh, wow, there's not an event near me. I guess I've got to start one. So I'm looking forward to seeing this thing take off. I think it's going to be enormous. I think it's going to be powerful. It's going to be a demonstration of what mass, peaceful, popular protest looks like in a real constitutional republic.
And this seems different in that sense than 2017, where you saw many of these judges standing up to Trump, and not just in court decisions, but yesterday, almost 160 lawyers writing a letter to the attorney general saying, you cannot intimidate the judiciary. What's the interplay of all of these different aspects of the resistance movement?
Look, politicians are politicians. So you look at Republicans, you look at Democrats, you look at independents. If you are an elected official, in your brain every day when you wake up, you are thinking, how do I get votes next time I need votes? And that's not a knock on politicians. That's good. That means we live in a constitutional republic where the people have the power and they lend it out to other folks who are running for office. That's healthy. You don't want politicians thinking, well, I don't care. I don't need those votes. That's a sign that you don't live in a healthy democracy. But because of that, mass protest movements in rural areas, in red areas, and yes, in blue and purple areas, those have an impact because those politicians see that and they think, oh, wait, I might not have as sturdy ground under my feet as I thought. The time horizon was right now, in this moment. Donald Trump is president. He has control of the Republican Party. The Congress is with him. He's going to push through his agenda. He is threatening me, or he's threatening my institution. I've got to protect myself right now. And that's how we saw a lot of institutions behaving. That's why you saw Columbia cave. That's why you saw Paul Weiss cave. That's why you see Washington Post and ABC News. That's why you see that kind of behavior. But with this broad-based, peaceful public protest, mass protest out there, what you're doing is sending a signal to those institutions. Oh, wait, 2027 is coming. There's probably going to be a Democratic House. They're going to launch investigations. 2029 is coming. Trump isn't going to be president anymore. There's going to be somebody else. I'm still going to be a law firm. I'm still going to be a university. I'm still going to be a business. And I'm going to have to contend with my actions today. That's great. That's what we want those leaders and those institutions thinking, because I don't want them being cowards, protecting themselves and caving to an authoritarian today. I want them forward thinking. I want them thinking about that future era. And mass public protest brings that future era closer to them. It says, oh, wow, the country is going in a different direction, and I got to be there because I don't want to be left behind.
Absolutely. And of course, it also lights a fire under our Democratic friends. It forces them to be a bit more confrontational. And as those Trump approval numbers come down, I think it does embolden the politicians to listen even more closely to the electorate, because what are they really scared about? This super unpopular president is going to challenge them? What about the hundreds of thousands of millions of voters out there who are now irate with them? Which do you really care about more? Isn't that kind of the cost-benefit analysis we want each one of these guys to go through?
It's exactly right. Look, I hate to say, but the dominant opinion within the Democratic Party, Democratic Republic, where your vote still matters. Winning in Virginia, winning in New Jersey is important for New Jersey and Virginia, but it's important for the country writ large to show that, yeah, this era is ending. There is backlash coming. So if you are an individual citizen, you should know that is coming. That should give you confidence to stand up, to push back, to not cooperate. And if you're a leader in a political institution, or if you're a leader in a non-political institution, you're going to see the writing on the wall, and you're going to stop doing everything that Donald Trump says just because he sent you a strongly worded letter.
Absolutely. And we are influencing universities, which are now banding together, like Harvard. We're seeing law firms now fight back. So there is progress being made. So for No King's Day, people want to organize, or they want to find an existing organization near them, an existing event. What do they do?
Yeah, go to nokings.org. What you will see is a map, and you can put in your zip code. You can find an event near you. It's early days. We launched it yesterday officially, so there aren't going to be events everywhere, but they're going to keep on populating every day. And if you put in your zip code and you say, oh, there's not one near me, good news. You get to organize a pro-democracy march or protest in your community. You get to get your friends and family members and colleagues to show up in defense of our constitutional republic. You get to have some fun while doing it. It's going to be great, but we need you. Nobody else is riding in on a horse in shining armor to save us. This is being led by normal, everyday people on the ground, like you. You who are watching me speak right now, this is being led by people like you. That's how we got to 1,100 protests on May Day. That's how we got to 1,300. I think we're going to be even bigger on June 14th on Flag Day, because you know what is just about universal in this country? We don't want kings. We were founded as a country against the idea of kingly rule. We can build a big coalition behind this, and it's going to be built by folks who are watching this program and others.
Absolutely. And I can attest personally, these are fun. They're joyous.
They are.
It's not an angry crowd. It's not a resentful crowd. These people are having the time of their lives because it is fun. They've become scenes of joy, of togetherness, of community. And you will not be sorry if you go to one of these or if you organize one of them. And once you start doing it, you're not going to be able to stop because it really is a addictive quality to companionship and community.
There's a phrase I learned relatively recently that's been applied to church goings or to concerts: collective effervescence. It's this feeling that you get when you're among a lot of people who are thinking and acting and chanting and experiencing the same thing together physically in person. Look, for 200,000 years, our species has been gathering in groups physically together. I know in the modern era with Twitter and with TikTok and with online experiences, you can feel isolated. I'm talking to you in my bedroom right now. This is how we often experience life. But getting out in the world physically, geographically, with folks of your community, that's a human experience that's hard to replicate in any other way. And to do it in service of democracy and human rights and rule of law, what could be better, Jen? It's a great time.
Exactly. So for your endorphin high, go to nokings.org. Thank you, Ezra. It's always fun talking to you, and I am sure we will have you back soon. Take care.
Can't wait, Jen. Thank you.
Rule of law. Okay, that's more than enough that we needed. Yeah, what type of thoughts? I wrote a bunch of notes. I'll let y'all go first.
Oh, sorry. You want to go?
No, you can.
I just thought towards the end is really funny. It kind of reminds me a lot about, when people try to do the Black joy is resistance and stuff. And it's just kind of funny that you have this like liberal white man kind of saying the whole quote unquote pro-Black rhetoric. And we think we're so like, pro-Black and doing everything Black is when we're on our Black joy resistance. But then you have this liberal white man that's like saying the exact same thing. Like it's all about joy. And that's like very strong. And I think it just kind of shows that like we need to really rethink this whole joy as joy is resistance method. And I definitely think it's, obviously him even kind of his analysis on how this country started and how, they're like no kings, but it's like slave owners. Like, ain't that kind of similar to like, king mass genocide on natives? Like isn't that kind of similar to king? So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like there's not a historical analysis there. So like, again, when people don't have a true historical analysis or want to acknowledge the truth, if they know the actual truth, then you kind of get stuck in this repetitive cycle of like, how do we fix the issue? And like I said, fixing the issue just ends up becoming but we gotta be Democrat, or we gotta get back to like I said, even when I was talking to my aunt, she's like, I'm really seeing it's a messed up system. And that's what people like you that don't vote for the Democratic Party or the Republicans or whatever, like it's because it's a messed up system. But she's like, but is there any way to just like get people to vote for blue up until but it's like there's no way to like really do that. There has to be somebody that's thinking beyond red and blue, or else, like I said, you get stuck in the cycle just continues. And I watched an interesting, I'll stop really quick, but I watched an interesting video yesterday by this influencer, and she kind of broke down just kind of the whole Clinton era and a lot of him getting rid of welfare and kind of him picking up where Reagan left off, and how he did all of this as a Democrat that like white people loved, and not white people, Black people loved Clinton, at the time and whatnot. So I just think even stuff like that, like people need to, people haven't even grappled with that. There's a lot of, especially elder Black people that just haven't not even come to terms with the fact that like, Bill Clinton and Obama and like that all of that made way for this era that we're in now. It's not, it's not just this overnight thing, so yeah.
I mean, I just find it funny when we get in this debate, the Democrats and Republicans, they're all the same party at the end of the day. It just operate a little different, but it's all up under white hegemony. And so when I think about like Occupy Detroit or Occupy Wall Street, I remember when it came to Detroit, like I was one of the most loudest voices against it. particular, and it's kind of, it wasn't leftist folks, but it was kind of leftist folks. Like there was no race analysis, no class analysis. Like we should just all be against the system. And this is where like this No Kings rally. I don't have the energy now that I had 10, 15 years ago to engage in that debate and things, a little more wiser and shit. But it's the same thing, but more so the energy is like, what are we doing? Because again, if we're not doing anything to create another alternative beyond words, and that's not tangible to change the material condition, people, you can't be mad at someone going, right? And so for me, like part of my speech, because I already knew it was going to be predominantly white people, so I made it my business to talk directly to white people in part of my speech, which was like, this is more than a moment. If you really want to help us, then you need to organize. Not organize just because, but organize with us. And you need to challenge your family, challenge this stuff in your workplace, and you need to challenge white hegemony, even when it makes your ass uncomfortable. And some other things. So I took advantage of the opportunity and made the most of it. And as I was leaving, the folks that looked like us, you could see the sense of pride, the sense of ownership, the connectivity to the words and things. But what do we do with that, and taking them to where, I think where we struggle with, what does our struggle looks like on a day-to-day basis? If we're not every day out beating up against the man, so to speak, how are we're doing things, and not necessarily that cheesy shit of, we're going to get a bunch of food from these food trucks that's not going to last maybe more than a week in somebody's refrigerator, and saying we're feeding a bunch of people. Even I'm criticizing, critiquing it, and I sympathize with it too, because it's still feeding somebody for that moment. But what are the other? Are we challenging ourselves to not just be dependent on? Because we still depend on the system. That's where a friend of mine that reminds me, where if we're not fighting to get off the system to creating our own systems, are we really being revolutionary?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that like stuck out. Obviously, as you say, Yusef, both parties are staunch advocates for the American project, and they have different methodologies to achieve and maintain the American project. And yeah, just this idea around power was interesting. He said you on the ground people, which try to mimic that it's grassroots movement, but it's really like heavily funders. And if you look at any one of those websites, you'll see a bunch of corporations and really big foundations that's tied to the Democratic Party who's supporting it. So no, my nigga, that's not on the ground people. And then again, like a mass peaceful protest. And then understanding the genocidal government that we have. And again, if Fred Hampton says peace to those willing to fight for it, like, I don't think you could like really resolve those contradictions about what you would do to stop the American project from Trump's version of the American project from going. And then again, this broad-based signal, I feel like the Democratic leaders were being asked to show up there so that they can make sure that they get the votes, and so that you could be taking pictures of, you could be saying, I supported that, and that's going to get the swing when everybody's mad at Trump next year. And so when they keep passing the ball back and forth to each other, they're just making sure that the Democrats who want the ball next, they should be showing up there. So all I see was and the white lady said, our friends, our Democratic friends. All I see is political strategists, and the reality is consciously don't have the type of bag that those people have, even though he's a political, I guess a subpar political Democratic strategist who has to raise his funds through black folks. That's why he got those classes. That joker there got all type of grants and fundings and whatever to be a well-funded political strategist. So that black versus white thing is interesting. Shout out to somebody who called out that constitutional republic, who's kind of admitting that we're not in a democracy. And then no one coming to save us is wild shit. Again, as Cherie perfectly said, all your black talk comes from white think tanks, and you should sit with that and figure that shit out. These think tanks aren't saying shit that George Jackson say. They might try to paraphrase George Jackson to make you think they with the people. That's crazy. And then again, this arguing about how the country was founded, and then trying to bring that to here, like, bro, that's the craziest shit in the world. But again, I know we are so past how the country was founded and who it was took from, who was raped, who was forced to work it. Like, I don't think I can't imagine how folks talking about the founding of the country and then turn that into like, hey, this is a joyous, fun, this an addictive attitude. I mean, yo was selling the drug, and it sounds like the drug is some good, so it's a good bag.
Hey, did you guys see the clip from the mayor in Chicago speaking at the No Kings rally?
Yeah, I saw Breakthrough Media actually post the whole event, and I don't know if they was there, but it was interesting. But I actually didn't. Yeah, but I didn't pay much attention. The person behind him, who spoke after him, they were even more liberal than him. But what do you think?
He's supposed to call for a general strike. I didn't watch all of it. I saw actually, what's old girl Amanda Seals?
Yeah, Amanda Seals about to go watch Jared's interview on there.
So I follow her on Instagram. So she was playing a clip from it, and she's like, "Yeah, this is a protest," and she was all excited. And at the end, she's like, "He did a good job. I hope he gets some good head tonight."
She wild. That's wild. But hey, shout out to him, I guess. But but what I was about to say, yeah, I saw a little bit because they even played some of it on one of the remix shows. I don't know. I guess it was yesterday morning. They played some of it, and I kind of keep that in the background sometimes when I'm working. So I wasn't able to pick up everything that was said. But I mean, I guess when it comes to general strike, like I feel like I think we need to get what type of strike, because I think we've been talking about strike for a while, but it seems that people are specifically only talking about like, consumer boycotts and like not going to Target or not going to this store and stuff like that. Like, it seems like it always leads back to like, we're not going to spend our money here and we're not going to spend our money here, and then goes back to like, well, we should just support small businesses, black owned businesses, stuff like that. And I feel like it doesn't but I didn't see all of it, but I just feel like even if somebody brings up a little bit of worker strike or whatever, it seems like it's always over, like it's always pushed to the back and just becomes more about like, how do we withhold our money from certain things? And then people just that want to fix the issue just end up becoming obsessed with what they're spending and feel like their spending is like their biggest action. And I just think that really, I think sometimes, and I don't know, like I said, if worker stuff was actually brought up of like, we need to figure out a time and what companies need to just not work. And obviously I know there's always people on the ground, and especially communist orgs, socialist orgs that, do, work with workers strikes and whatnot. But I just think, so for some reason, even with stuff like that is shared, whether it's a pastor or, a politician, that it just always gets back to, it's our fault and we just need to stop spending our money on things and all this could stop if we just stop buying stuff. And I don't know. I kind of hate the way it always kind of gets back to that. And it doesn't,
I mean, let me stay like, I don't, because people gravitate to, I don't know the guy's name, the mayor. And I believe that the absence of what a revolutionary looks like in a public eye, he tends to, or individual like that will people flock to him in that manner, a black nationalist or et cetera, because of our hunger is so great for that, right? And again, that critique is on us and not on him, but also, does he have the potential to transition, to transform? No, absolutely. And I think that's the appeal there, right? But because there's no strong enough movement or strong enough organization that is pushing, putting beyond this Democratic and Republican ideology to push him or push her to a more revolutionary thing, that we just get we fall in the loop for the feel good moments. And I think that's where a lot of the organizations in the last 20 years, 25 years that have come, and they remind us of the Panthers, they remind us of SNCC, and we start joining them, and then we get inside and we see a lot of the bullshit. And bullshit happens all the time, but some of this bullshit is on repeat because they have not read, they have not studied, they have not put in the necessary work. So I think, again, that's where it's important to come back to the table and the drawing board to what do struggle looks like. And so again, for me, the No Kings rally is like, I have mixed feelings about it. I'm not somebody like bashing it, again, because I don't think it's meant for us per se. However, in up under the regime, which is a regime of white hegemony, but is at the most extreme. Like, I think for me, Trump is the Bushes, Ronald Reagan, George Clinton, not George Clinton, Bill Clinton. All he's all of them in one on steroids. Like, I mean, because it's as if we forget how racist and hegemonic that Ronald Reagan was, like, or George Bush, but it's different degrees of oppression and things.
So I think a couple things, and I'll end it with a question. But the No Kings rally just made me immediately say, like, oh, well, we should probably throw a No Solutions March, right? And in this No Solution March, we're gonna display that it's impossible to actually have a solution if you like working from a faulty premise. And we all say we're radical, and we don't really get to the root. If we're radical, that's interesting. But the root of this, what do you call it again? Rally, is lesser evil politics, and then all you have to do is like fight against Trump, and Trump is the cause of the problem, and shit was going well before the election the second time. And again, this sounds to me like the four responses to hegemony when we talk about like the suicidal part of hegemony, or response to hegemony. And again, when I read that quote earlier, that psychic completion, like, folks will be like, well, we did our best, we did our part, right? And so this dopamine that people are getting by going to this thing, it makes them feel like they're doing their part. Very similar to online people who, like, they watch a show, whether it's our show or any other show. It's like, I'm doing my political part by just showing up and watching the show or whatever. But I'll say this, like, what do y'all think about something like that? You think about Million Man marches, both of them, the one back in the days and the one that was like recently. Because again, as August Nips and Glenn Ford will say, like, if you can't make demands and talk about what you are for, and you just finish with like what you're against, it's a waste of time. So if Glenn said, like, yo, you organize or mobilize 1 million people, and you gather them in one place, and there was no clear political demands. So yeah, I'm sure. I'm curious, what do y'all think about something equivalent to this protest? And then how does it make you think about like the Million Man March or any other things that like was really big that people went out to?
That's a good point. I would just indirectly call the coon on Facebook. I shared an article somebody wrote on the root criticizing the Million Man March, and it had some good critiques. It even went to the point of calling it a failure. I didn't agree with calling it a failure, but to Geechee points and others, it uplifted. And again, I think on both sides of the aisle, you got black folks who are so in absolute around the Million Man March. You got white folks so absolute around the No Kings, blah blah blah. But there's no critical thinking. There's no ability to slow down and really ask the right question. We're just caught up in what some people call the emotions of the struggle. But that doesn't change our social reality. Anger might ignite you to get involved, but it does not lead you to change any fucking thing. That's blind leading the blind. So I think that comparison, that's a deeper conversation to get into around examining the Million Man March. I'll just start from the last one they did. I forget what was the tagline? No peace or nothing else or something like that, right? I don't know. And it was this very radical, very contentious tagline. And when we all got there, he brought out Elijah Muhammad kids, Farrakhan, and he started talking about Malcolm again. I'm like, what that got to do with the freedom or else? Like that ain't got nothing to do with this, right? But it's like we're so blind with our loyalty, with the Umar Johnsons and all these other folks. And I get it. Like we're so desperate for leadership that we just fall for it. We keep drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, with Million Man March and all that stuff, I was really young. But I think I'm just thinking about just the role that culture plays in all of this. And I think like watching even the thing I was watching yesterday, when you think about Reaganomics and you think about, even going back to Nixon and all those things and like aligning Black power with Black capitalism and how that more just became more and more a thing. And then Farrakhan really, like that was the big thing for him, was really ownership and Black capitalism and all of those things as well. And like I said, even thinking of how, like I said, it's been a cycle from Reaganomics to Bill Clinton, even, getting rid of welfare. Or it was welfare reform. And then a lot of Black people in the climate got on that because it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we want to have something for ourselves. And there's the whole welfare queen and we don't want to be that anymore. And, and I'm just thinking about like how the culture of that. And then you have the, rap kind of culture of hyper, get money, everything's about get money. And, if you're poor, that's your fault. And just how that kind of thinking has seeped its way from, church folks to spiritual gurus, talking about a poverty mindset and all this other stuff. I just think about like that constant culture that led to, something like a SNAP benefits getting taken away. And, like I said, people will argue, oh, this would not have happened under Kamala as far as SNAP benefits being taken away. Therefore, people that didn't vote for her, it is our fault. Then now people are going to lose out on their SNAP benefits and things like that. But I'm just thinking of the overall culture and so many things that led up to like inspiring this moment where even at a Million Man March, I mean, I'm thinking, I don't know who was in office around that time. Was it, I'm assuming Clinton during that time?
Which one? The recent one?
No, you're talking about the first one, 1995?
Yeah.
Clinton.
I thought
yeah, okay. So I'm thinking of those things and I'm just kind of like, yeah, like even with that happening and, the stuff, the kind of politics that Farrakhan pushes out along in a Clinton era and how that leads back to, like I said, the earn your leisure and all this other stuff, like this SNAP benefits thing getting taken away and kind of this constant blaming of lower class people that their situation is solely their fault and they're just not working hard enough. I'm just thinking like all of that, like it would always end up with, even if Kamala didn't, take it away in this way, that it was always going to somewhat get led to this like less and less of people needing to depend on, some of their government for like resources that should be a human right. And so I don't know, I think that's just kind of what I'm thinking of, is just the overall cultural norm that has been created of like, you know, the bootstraps and all of that, and how Black people have taken that. Because even I've seen on my timeline this post that I shared yesterday, where people are like, and these are people that I guess are Black people that, you know, either support Trump, may not have voted for him, but think be like Trump be making sense sometimes, you know, that those sort of people are posting a lot of these things, like, and I don't even know the politics, but I saw it shared at least 3 times on my timeline, this post of like, y'all over here mad, meanwhile Trump is setting us up to be millionaires. And I'm just kind of like,
Black power seems to be shifting. Some aspects of black power are very disturbing to us because it means revolution. It means violence. But other aspects of black power are very constructive because it means that black people, they want to stand on their own feet. They want to have black banks and not just go to white banks. They want to have black businesses and not just go to the white businesses. And they should have, and they will have.
The black capitalism.
yeah. So and even what is it? PD. Yeah, I feel like that's very true. Where it would be, yeah, where SNAP benefits wouldn't be taken away, but like the stuff or the policies or the qualifications for getting it would be adjusted under her. And it was like I said, it would still lead this thing, but if it was her doing it, it would be more like, oh, y'all don't understand, she's trying to get it so that we can make something of ourselves, and y'all shouldn't be too dependent on that anyway, you know. But I think because it is Trump and people have a thing against Trump, and it's like a complete, you know, thing of being pulled from people, you know, like I said, that, you know, obviously you have the No Kings people, but then like I said, some of these black capitalist people or whatever, they're just like, that's gonna help us in the end become millionaires. And I'm just like,
so Yusef, before you got to jump, share what you would recommend how people should engage in political action. So the No Kings, not so much, but like share some thoughts that you or things that you would advise folks to focus on.
I mean, even the No Kings, I would encourage people to participate to some degree from a political standpoint. You know, I'm gonna quote Jared. It's not a Jared quote, but where Jared says everything's political. You know, when he's examining things, I think, you know, the abilities, even if you're not there to go to participate in per se, to observe, get into the political discourse, talk to people, you know, share your ideas, get into healthy debates. You know, Geechee knows about those things, right? how good and how great they are. You know, political discourse. You may meet a like value person there, right? Or find an organization there. And so I think we just can't be on the sideline. And we got to figure out where do we get in the mix of things to be able to move forward to what we need to do was relevant to us, but also in reality we have to have allies too. When I say have to allies, does that mean to be blind folks? We just go connect? No, that's not what I'm saying. Our political direction, our political ideology, the movement of our organization, of our work should determine and define allies from our vantage point, not just to have allies for the sake of having allies.
Yeah. I've heard some people say that we should have gone there to recruit and be able to advocate for people. I think, you know, if that's a strategy, that's a strategy. But, you know, those people were propagandized and organized there by a particular group. But I kind of, as Yusef say, like I would recommend if you go there, you should be a part of an organization, and y'all should have a political strategy, because all political actions or all actions in the public should have some type of political strategy. And so we know the people didn't come there with this, and we know the people didn't get that, and then I don't know that the people will leave there with it, but you should be like, hey, what see if you can figure out the clear goals of the event and see if it's helpful. And you should figure out the audience that you are trying to engage, what context they're in, what is the message that's being delivered, is it compelling, is it like some good ass propaganda? And then you know, I guess in the long run of it, if you join an organization, like mobilizing your resources to achieve an objective, like you should kind of really focus on that. And then there's a heavy focus on the dynamics of internally decisions, how it's made, and shit like that. But I do think like you should see if this action has a single-minded purpose and the participants are clear on it. And if it's not, you should learn what not to do when you do your stuff with your org. So if you will go out there, cool, go find some fun to get into, like the white boy said. Cherie, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm still, me being still a newer organizer, I'm still trying to struggle because I do see even a shift in people around me because of the climate of people wanting to do something. Like I said, my mom was like, if we didn't go to homecoming, I would have went to the No Kings protest. And I ain't never know my mom to go to no protest for nothing. So, but like I said, she told me something. She's like, I want to get, involved. But I think, like I said, she knows obviously I'm an organizer, but I think in her mind, because she's just not used to connecting the geopolitical with the local, like she's like, I know that there's stuff in Palestine, but this is, I'm just really concerned with what's happening right here now. But she doesn't is not able to put together the I don't know what just happened sound wise, but
you heard it?
Yeah, I heard it too. That was weird, but yeah, but I don't know if she's able to put together that, obviously we're the obviously all the money being sent to freaking Palestine, that's money that could be for the people and stuff like that, or just even something on the basis of that, just so I don't know. So I think it's still hard, and I think it's hard to even talk to people sometimes when they're blaming you for their currents for the current climate too, like I said. And I think even like I said, with family members, it's just they may be like, well, I get it, but in the end, it's they still kind of blame me for the current situation. So I think, it's a little hard. I feel like it's, harder for me still being new of how do I get past that? I get a first layer of blame put on me because of how I voted and whatnot, and past to the overall circumstance. Because I feel like I tried to explain it to my aunt, but she just kept being like, but I just don't think that's true. Because I think I think what she does is kind of like social work in a sense. And I think she's seeing, people lose this, that, and the third. And when I say things it's not that big of a difference, she just really struggles with seeing how, it's not that big of a difference from Democratic to Republic or whatever, because she's seeing people that are losing these things and that things. And so it's just kind of I don't know. I think when I talk to her, she just hears it as wishful thinking, but yeah.
Well, again, you have to wish for something. People wish to end slavery and it happened. I think it would be important to, again, as we talked about it, get people talking about policy and away from people, right? So it's easy to say I'm against Trump and all these other things. You can't explicitly talk about different policies and get them to talk about what policies. So remember we talked about the housing stuff. The Democrats got they think the tax break should leave. And I think this is Kamala's plan. The tax break, you should lose your tax break if you get over 100 houses, right? The Republican says it don't matter how many houses you have, you should get the tax break. You should say housing is a human right and have a particular policy that advocates for that, and you could lay it out for them and let them choose. But I think having a conversation around that, because we just have to have a candid conversation around building power, and so hopefully we will do that one day. But we've been holding y'all too long. Any final things before we need to wrap? Yusef, got anything coming up? Cherie, anything coming up?
My birthday is Saturday, so I'm gonna be turning up. I'm gonna be having a good time. I'm gonna be twerking. I'm gonna be looking good. I'm gonna be
looking all sexy and stuff.
I'm gonna be looking all sexy. I turned 25 again. I can't believe I just turned 25 every year. I just keep turning 25 over and over again, So
I gotta borrow that one.
It's crazy that I turned 25 for I guess the 9th time, So that's gonna be lit, But so I'm just looking forward to celebrate my birthday this weekend. Yeah. Shout out to the Scorpios.
This week, man, I'm tomorrow. I'm heading to go visit my son in New Orleans. So I'll be in New Orleans, and also some elder folks in the movement. They're holding a memorial service for Rochelle, the gentleman that he did 60 years. He was the survivor of the George Jackson assault.
Rochelle McGee. For sure.
Yeah, yes, Michelle. So he died, and so they're doing a tombstone in his name. So I'll be participating in that as well down in New Orleans.
Perfect. That's dope. Shout out to the ancestor. What? Yeah, absolutely. I did celebrate a birthday. But so for this weekend, actually, next week we're gonna have some guests, some of the people who participated in our event, and I'm gonna send y'all the book ahead of time so we can kind of talk about it. Yusef, I really think you're gonna appreciate this book and some of these written letters, especially as you wrote letters as well. But we're gonna try to have some guests on Friday from the event, and then next week Wednesday, and then the event is Thursday. So look forward to having that conversation with folks. And there's something else going on this weekend, but I can't remember. But I guess we'll figure that out soon. But I appreciate y'all for coming in, and make sure you keep the conversations going in the chats. And we will see y'all another time. So peace.
Thanks, y'all, for the love. Peace.
Creciente